Or even if you lock your doors, they'll either break through the lock or through a window. They now have your vehicle and they have your keys. And as you mentioned earlier, most people have garage door openers in their cars and other personal items. They now have all of that too.
What about keys on a key ring? You'll see you have that, all the house keys, all your work keys, everything on one key ring. So if somebody does break into the car and steal it, they've got everything. Should you keep those separate, maybe a couple of different rings?
Yeah, you could keep them separate, and they also have keychains that have detachable, multiple rings that you can detach. But really should keep all of your keys with you on your person at all times when you need them, because the opportunity for someone to take them is going to be less when they're on you and you know where they're at. If you leave them laying around or you've got them separate, they'll now have your keys somewhere.
What about leaving your kids in the car? We just saw this on the news the other night. Somebody ran in for 2 seconds into the store. They could visibly see the car. Boom! It's gone. I mean, the window of opportunity is so quick.
As a mother, that's just devastating. It's terrifying to think about. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I have a small child, and you don't want to have to drag them into the grocery store or into the gas station, or you don't want to have to do those things. But I don't want to have to go through what that mother went through, or what any other parent goes through when something like that could happen. Absolutely not. It's not worth it. As Sergeant Naughton says, you have your keys with you, you have your valuables with you, and you have your children with you. It's all together. And if you don't do that, you stand a substantial risk of becoming a victim.
And it's the same thing in the driveway, like we talked about. You can run back into the house for 1 second, leave your kids in the car, and it's a crime of opportunity. It can happen there too. The other thing, I think I've got 3 youngsters, is that when I get out of the car to get gas, even though I'm on the other side of the car, if I leave that car running, anything could really happen to me. I could fall and hit my head, somebody could throw me down and take off with the car. Advice, turn that key off?
Absolutely. And you say that, and it's funny because I do, if I'm standing right there at the gas pump and I'm pumping gas, I lock my car doors even if it's just my purse in the car. And I'm right there. But I'm not going to give someone that opportunity. It's going to slow them down if they're trying to open the door.
Not to name any businesses specifically, but a lot of people during the holidays buy stuff off of the internet from the big servicing stores on the internet. Advice as far as using your credit card and personal information on a site like that?
We recommend that you actually do use a credit card, not a debit card. Credit cards are protected by the Fair Credit Billing Act. You're not necessarily going to get reimbursed in any other means. So keep that in mind. If you've got someone wanting to send you money, more money than you're asking for if you're selling an item, most likely they're sending you something that's counterfeit, meaning a counterfeit check or a counterfeit money order. Those are really big right now. Cash only, if you're dealing in those and dealing locally. We've even had problems with the companies that go through some of these bigger companies. I think we know who we're talking about, and sometimes those get hacked and sometimes those get misused also. So you're always better protecting yourself. It's more of insurance to use your credit card versus a debit card. I will actually transfer funds from my debit over to my credit just to use it for that one moment because I don't want to be using my credit card if I don't have to. Obviously, you want to use passwords that are difficult, combinations of letters, numbers, throw in a question mark, explanation, whatever you can do to make it a little more complicated, and try to use trusted websites.
So, in your professional opinion, safe overall to shop online if you take the right precautions?
Sure, absolutely. I shop online all the time. I think most people do. It's very convenient. And I think that if you know, if you're going to a website if you're going to Walmart.com or Target.com, or you're going to these companies that you know are actual companies, then you're going to be okay. If you're going to something a little more random, then you need to be a little more alert and do a little more research.
As far as shopping online or in the stores, car alarms and burglary, I can't even say it, type systems you see advertised all the time. Are they worth the investment? Do they really protect you?
Absolutely. I think all of us at one point or another have heard car alarms going off, and people are at that point now where they hear them in the background and they may or may not look or whatever, but anything that you can do to draw attention to your particular vehicle, you know, the bad guy's going to hit that car and the alarm's going to go off. He's going to move right on to the next car. Okay, so your alarm went off and you might have some slight damage to your car, but most of your contents and your vehicle is still going to be there most likely. There's other anti-theft deterrent items out there. The club, anything visible is going to deter them from stealing your car. The car parked right next to you is not going to have that. So, you know, make yourself the least likely target and make it more difficult for your vehicle to be the one to be targeted. Some of the other things that you can invest in too, and a lot of newer model cars already come standard with them, but you pay for the additional services like the GPS tracking, like OnStar programs and that. Just do your research on those and see what program fits what you want. The electronic tracking, obviously, if your car is taken, GPS will go right into effect and we'll be able to find your car relatively fast. So it's a good investment.
If you're in a parking lot and you hear somebody's alarm going off, what do you do? Do you run? Do you try to save the car? Do you go in and tell somebody? You call the police?
Well, I mean, like I said before, we're all kind of accustomed to hearing these alarms going off, and most people just don't even pay attention to that anymore. Obviously, it's got the thief's attention, and he's already on the run. Just take the extra second to look around. Look towards the direction that the alarm's going off and see if you do see anything. If you see a person running or you see the car that the alarm's actually going off on, tell the merchant that you're going into or tell a security officer or a policeman. Just let them know, hey, that car alarm out there is going off. I didn't see anything, or I did see this, and let us investigate it.
Sarge, we talked about stealing your identity online and stuff, but what about if your purse is stolen or your wallet and you do physically lose that credit card or debit card in your hand? Same first step, or?
The first step is making the police report, and actually I'd probably back up and say shut your cards down. Shut your cards down as quickly as possible. You want to stop them from being able to use them, but you want to make a police report. You're going to make the police report where the incident occurred. So that's a little different than the identity theft. So in other words, if you are in South County, but you live in Blackjack, you make the report in South County where it occurred. As soon as you shut everything down, you're still going to have to get statements to make sure that nothing was purchased in between. Unfortunately, if there were purchases made between the time that you discovered the crime of the theft of the card, then you're going to have to go to each agency and make the report for the fraudulent use of the credit device. So that becomes somewhat of a nightmare. So yes, I should back up and say the first thing you should do is shut those cards down, stop them altogether, and then contact the police department from the area that this incident occurred.
And how do you safely keep track of all those numbers? You're worried about it, so if you put all the numbers on a separate piece of paper in your purse and it's gone, or you put it in your car and it's gone.
No, you don't want them there. You want to keep them at your residence. If you have a file, preferably a safe. You don't even have to make copies. When they send you the card, all the information's on there. When you peel it off the form, you can just fold that up and put it in your safe or put it in your file so you have the information, and to try to keep that organized. Now, with that said, that needs to be in a safe location. You don't want to leave that in your purse or in your car or anywhere that someone could have access to it, because we recommend shredding the rest of your bills and the rest of your statements. So as long as you just have one that's accessible.
As we approach the holidays here, what is the St. Louis County Police Department doing as far as being proactive? I know every year the extra patrol out, but what else is going on in terms of being proactive throughout the holiday season?
Busy times of the year when people are out and about and the opportunity for crimes rise. The county police have always put together programs working with our business communities and with our neighborhood watch groups and doing shows like this. Getting the word out there on some safety things, on what to do, what not to do, how to better protect yourself. There's visible patrol that's increased in these busier areas. And then detectives with our units work together, and we actually go out and we'll do some proactive things. The county police department has several bait vehicles. We'll put those out and leave those in basically the manner we told you not to leave them in to make them more attractive to the criminal, and then we'll set surveillance on them. We'll have people out in plain clothes watching and hopefully catch the bad guys while they're trying to break into our vehicle and not yours.
The whole concept of Neighborhood Watch and the Neighborhood Watch program, whether it's in the subdivision, kind of applies to if you're out shopping also. The best, I guess, security is eyes and being aware. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. There are more people out there than there are policemen, obviously. So You are the eyes and ears when you're the public, you're out there and you're doing your business. You may see the one policeman walking around that day. He's only going to see what's around his immediate area. You and the several other thousands of people walking around are seeing everything else. So we depend on the public to call us and let us know what they're seeing, what they're hearing, what we need to respond to. So they play a large part in the crime prevention.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned earlier that don't be afraid. If you think you saw something, you're not bothering the police. It could be that one little tip or proactive approach that maybe solves not only one little crime, but a ring of crimes.
Correct. Correct. We definitely encourage people to call us, even if they don't think it's a big deal.
All right. As we start to wrap up the show, the phone rings during dinner. It rings all through the days these days. If somebody calls requesting information and you accidentally slip and give them something, what's the first step there? Because you have no idea where that's coming from.
You don't have any idea where it's coming from, and we would recommend with emails or phone calls that you don't ever give out personal information. Your banking institution will not call you and request your account number. They will not request that information. If you feel that a phone call was made that is suspicious or an email was received that was suspicious, you can actually reach out to the company. Now, I would suggest, if you've got caller ID, not using the number that came up on the caller ID. You can spoof phones, you can do all sorts of fancy stuff now, at least the bad guys can. So I would suggest that you actually physically look up the phone number for the company and find out if they made the phone call to you or if they sent the email to you. If it's an email, you just want to stop correspondence. Absolutely just stop correspondence. And if you haven't done so already, put that alert on your credit report, because if you've given out that information, at that point we've kind of got the dilemma of the misdemeanor felony, of what information you've gotten or what the purpose was, and it could have spiraled completely out of control and we could maybe stop it also. So it depends. So they really need to reach out to their local police department with where they reside for guidance and assistance to find out exactly how much did they divulge. We say give nothing. Give nothing, say nothing, don't talk to them. Some of these phone calls will become irate. Hang up on them.
As we wrap the show up here, Sergeant Naughton, what would you want to leave everybody with as far as overall safety for the holiday season?
I think what we touched on earlier is just use basic common sense. Be aware of your surroundings and don't be afraid to report what you see that's suspicious, or just take care of each other while you're out there. I mean, travel in groups and numbers, and just basically common sense is the big key here.
And Sergeant Williams, as we wrap up, your thoughts on everything?
I think kind of what I started with, and that was awareness. Be aware of your surroundings, and this is protecting yourself and protecting your family, protecting your livelihood, your finances, everything. It's all encompassing. So just be aware.
And no matter how many times they hear it throughout the holiday season, no matter how many times they watch this show, there will still be people out there who fall victim to exactly what they've heard a million times throughout the season, throughout the years. Yeah. So don't be one of them, right?
Exactly.
Guys, thank you so much for your time, Sergeant Tom Naughton and Sergeant Jennifer Williams, St. Louis County Police Department. Appreciate your time here on the show. Make sure, take everything we talked about today to heart. Don't become a victim. Thanks for watching tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night right here on Priority One. Have a good evening.
Our day starts very early. We never know exactly when we'll have a full house, so we have to be ready at all hours. We have regularly scheduled deployments that come through, but things rarely run on schedule, so we have a lot of surprises. We have birthdays, we have family reunions. We even had a wedding here once. But whatever they need, we'll do our very best to see they get it. If they need travel arrangements or use of a computer, if they need to change diapers or dry someone's tears, we can help. It's the very least we can do, considering what they do for us. If you want to make a difference in the life of someone serving our country, if you really want to make a difference, the USO is how it's done. Help us help them.
The USO depends on the generosity of the American people just like you. To find out how you can help, visit us at uso.org. The USO, until everyone comes home.